good evening, everybody, and welcome to the webinar today. We have on board a very eminent speaker who has a rich experience of both in private as well as government sector. So friends, please welcome Ramanan Ramanathan. He is the Mission Director of Atal Innovation Mission, which is a flagship national innovation initiative of Prime Minister and the Government of India. Under NITI Aayog, AIMS, it's shortly called as AIM, and AIM's goal is to establish and promote a vibrant culture of innovation and entrepreneurship nationwide. As a mission director, Ramanan has been instrumental in the launch and execution of several nationwide innovation and entrepreneurship initiatives, resulting in almost more than 10,000 Atal Tinkering Labs, wow, established in schools nationwide, and over 2 million students have access to these innovative tools and technologies like 3D printers, robotics, miniatures electronized. It's awesome. He has led the setup of more than 100 Atal incubation centers in universities and industries fostering startups. He's also been instrumental in setting up one of the largest mentorship networks with more than 10,000 registrations to mentor young school students and startups. Prior to this, Mr. Ramanan was Managing Director and CEO of CMC Limited, a subsidiary of the globally acclaimed TCS. He has led CMC's rapid transformation from a domestic government organization to a global IT private sector organization. So with this brief, welcome Mr. Ramanan, and now completely the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aishwarya. Thank you, Shailendra, for giving me this opportunity and inviting me for sharing a few thoughts on the occasion. And thank you, Rajat, for also being present. Good evening to everybody who has logged on to this call. First and foremost, I hope that everyone is hale and hearty in spite of these difficult COVID-19 circumstances, and all of you are practicing the necessary safeguards that are given by your authorities, by your institution, by the local government, or by the organization in which you are part of. We are indeed living in unprecedented times, as all of you are aware. A simple virus has created a tremendous disruption to the lives and livelihoods of millions of people, not only in India, but across the world. It has disrupted supply chains across the world. It has created national lockdowns. It has created a fear of uncertainty as to what is in store for us in the years to come or in the days to come. It has also created a fear of other possible problems that are potentially there, lurking in the horizon, which we have always been talking about, but which we have not yet experienced. Problems like climate change, problems of other global pandemics, problems of nations locking down and becoming more and more nationalistic in their approach, and thereby disrupting even greater supply chains. But at the same time, the COVID-19 crisis has also provided us a tremendous opportunity to look at things afresh, to see how technology can be leveraged for the purposes of improvement, how societal good can still be made to happen, how collaboration and communication and working together in a team spirit can help us move mountains that we think is otherwise impossible. And that is why I am very happy to be part of this deliberation today, because I am, as I understand, addressing leaders in the industry. And all of you have a tremendous opportunity to play in the transformation of not only the organization that you are part of, but the nation in which you live, and potentially the world in which we are living. I'd like to just give a little background on myself, as has been already shared. I started my life in the private sector in the Tata Group, joined TCS in 1981 after graduating from IIT Bombay in 1981. At that time, when I was graduating, there were two companies which made an offer. The first one was TCS, and the second one was CMC. I appeared for both the interviews. I got offers from TCS first because it was a private sector organization. It raced in the offer of a letter. 3 months later, I got the offer from CMC. Of course, I took the offer from TCS because they were the first of the mark. And I often wondered what it would have been like to have been in CMC, because when we were studying in IIT, CMC was a Government of India IT services organization. It was well known, actually. It had a good reputation. More importantly, it was in the World Bank Center of Bombay with an escalator, which was always very attractive to me. I always, was fascinated by the escalator there. I'm not talking of the elevator, but the escalator, horizontal accelerator. And however, I joined TCS and I never looked back and I never regretted. It was a tremendous experience. When I joined TCS, we had around 400 people. We were part of an organization in the making, and it grew. And I was fortunate to be part of that growth story. Today, of course, TCS is over 450,000 people. And it is, as I understand, during the last month, they became the #1 in market cap of all the IT companies and information technology companies, services companies in the world. So that was a fantastic achievement for a company that started its journey in 1968 and has reached this particular position, and a company from India. In 2001, CMC was acquired by TCS. CMC was acquired because it was offered, it was one of the first jewels of the Indian crown to be offered to the public in the liberalization movement of the Indian economy. And of course, at TCS, we always had great regard for CMC, because whenever we lost a large project, it was mainly to CMC, especially in the domestic market, not in the international market. And we often wondered whether just because it was a government organization, we were losing it and they were preferred by the government. But we also found that whenever CMC got a project, they really executed it well. Those of you who are familiar, they developed the Indian Railway Reservation System, they developed the stock exchange trading system, they developed the CDSL depository, they developed a number of ports and cargo products across the country. So they proved themselves at every point in time that they were given an opportunity. And so when the opportunity came, TCS acquired CMC with a 51% ownership, and I had the opportunity to lead it and join CMC, the second company which gave me an offer when I was graduating from IIT Bombay. But fortunately, I moved in as the managing director and CEO of that company. And it was a very exciting ride. It was a very different company than what TCS was. And I don't want to go into the journey, but it was an extraordinarily rewarding experience to find the tremendous innovative capability that was there in the Indian ecosphere. CMC solutions were very innovative for its times. And the job became easy for me when I looked at the core competency that the company had and said, how can we take it to the private sector? How can we take it to the international market? And CMC grew. It grew extraordinarily well, to the point that it was assimilated into TCS and amalgamated into TCS in 2016. In 2016, towards the end of 2016, the Atal Innovation Mission, a flagship initiative of the government of India, was formed. This initiative was housed in the NITI Aayog, the National Institution for Transforming India, and it was the brainchild of the Prime Minister of the country. India is 1.3 billion people. We have what they call as a demographic dividend, which is the envy of many a country. We have 65% of our people under 35 years old. We have close to 120 million young students by 2025 who will be between 18 to 22 years. Now, this is a demographic dividend if leveraged properly. It would be a demographic nightmare if not leveraged properly. And therefore, the Honorable Prime Minister said at the NITI Aayog that we should take the responsibility of creating, first and foremost, an organization that will drive a culture of innovation across the country nationwide. And secondly, it will create an ecosystem of entrepreneurship that will enable a vibrant atmosphere for startups and entrepreneurs to be able to realize their dreams. And they were looking for a mission director for the Atal Innovation Mission. They looked for somebody who could have a combination of a government and private sector experience. And I fortunately seemed to fit the bill. And I joined Atal Innovation Mission in June of 2017 as the first mission director of the organization. Now, that was a major step for me, and it was also a major challenge. To come from a corporate sector which was and from an organization which was extraordinarily successful and becoming even more successful every year, and to launch yourself into a government sector, a fledgling organization, where when I first came, there were only 4 people to greet me. So it was a different atmosphere. I was tentative about my ability to succeed, but the job was wonderful. It was such an inspirational initiative that one could not but want to be a part of it. And so I plunged head on. And today, here we are discussing about not just what a corporate and a private sector experience, but a government experience is all about, which I will share with you. But also a little bit about why this particular need for innovation and entrepreneurship is so very important, not just for the government, but for every one of you who are leading organizations and who are being part of the nation in the making. First and foremost, as I said, we are a billion people. So we need to give and empower our people with the ability to transform this country and lead us into the future. It is the young students in the universities, in the schools, in the industry who are going to carry India and create the India of our dreams. The Honorable Prime Minister has referred to Atmanirbhar Bharat, a self-reliant India, an India which is not disrupted because of supply chain disruptions in the country or from outside. A country that is able to stand on its own legs and create impact, not only for its own citizens, but for people across the world. Now, Atmanirbhar Bharat relies on 5 pillars. And all these 5 pillars are very important if you want to be able to build a nation and a set of organizations in the nation that will carry and propel India forward as a leader in the 21st century. The first and foremost pillar is the demographic dividend, which we have talked about, and I'm not going to delve more into that. However, it is important that I share with you a little bit of Atal Innovation Mission and what it is doing from a demographic dividend point of view. We have launched thousands of Atal Tinkering Labs in schools across the country. We are a country with 715 districts, out of which 115 are called aspirational districts. And these districts are at the bottom of the pyramid in terms of access to healthcare, education, transportation, affordable housing, clean drinking water and sanitation, and so on. So we need to ensure that our young students who are spread across the 715 districts, our 600,000 villages, and over 8,000 small towns and cities are able to get the benefit of good education and are able to become innovators of the future. We need to create a nation of not just job seekers, but job creators. And that is the purpose of the Atal Innovation Mission. How do we create a nation of job creators? If you want to create a nation of job creators, you need to create entrepreneurs. And you need to create a problem-solving, innovative mindset in our young. Now, that's not just the function of the government, it is also an important requirement of the corporate. If your corporate organization has to survive and to thrive and to become a vibrant organization, which does not get disturbed or upset or disrupted because of changes that are happening around the world, they need very innovative people. They need a problem-solving, innovative mindset in every one of your employees. And so is it true across our country. So these Atal Tinkering Labs that we are setting up are state-of-the-art tinkering labs, where the latest of technologies like 3D printers, robotics, IoT devices, miniaturized electronics, and augmented virtual reality are made available through do-it-yourself kits to the young students. These students then tinker with these technologies in an atmosphere of fun and learning in the tinkering lab that is set up. The grant given by the government is about 20 lakhs per school. We have so far selected 10,000 tinkering labs to be established, out of which 5,600 tinkering labs are already fully operational, with more than 2.5 million students having access to these technologies. Now, it is not just enough to set up a lab. Many people set up a lab. How do you provoke them into innovation? How do you provoke them into problem solving? So we launched tinkering challenges, tinkering marathons, tinkering fests, tinkering challenges at a school level, tinkering fests at a regional level, and tinkering marathons at a national level. We give them areas in which we say, go and find a problem in this particular area. We say we want a smart healthcare solution. We want a smart city. We want smart water management. We want smart housing. We want smart surveillance. And we want smart sustainable development goals. So the students huddle in small groups of 3 or 4, identify a problem that they see in the community around them. So for instance, a school from Thoothukudi in South India, which is in the coastal regions of Tamil Nadu, girl students got together and created a solar panel IoT-based irrigation management system. Why did they do that? Because they saw that their parents who are farmers suffer from this problem every day. And so we asked the students, identify problems in and around your communities. And these problems then become the opportunities for innovation. And going forward, as they grow up and acquire that innovative spirit, which is an irreversible spirit that you acquire over the years, you will launch your journey to become an innovator, an entrepreneur, a startup creator. And that is what the intent of the Atal Innovation, Atal Tinkering Labs is. At the university level, we are fostering hundreds of incubators, fostering thousands of startups. Why is it so important to create new startups in our country? Not only is it important to create startups in the country, it is important to create startups in your corporate organizations. You need to ensure that innovative thinking and startup mindset is there in every one of your employees. It is not difficult to create an incubator in your own organization so that new ideas related to products that your company should be developing, services that they should be offering, or processes that they should be improving is given an opportunity to be incubated, to be perfected, and to be able to create an impact for the organization and for your customers. So India, as all of you are aware, has become a startup nation. We have now 55,000 startups in our country. We have more than 400 incubators in our country. And we have risen in the Global Innovation Index by a position of 33 points just in 5 years from 2015 to 2020. Now that's an amazing jump and very creditable too. It shows the innovability that exists. You see, India has never lacked for great innovators, great thinkers, great engineers, great scientists. You name it, we have it. We have great artists, we have great philosophers. We have a Satya Nadella heading Microsoft, a Sundar Pichai heading Google, a Shantanu Narayan heading Adobe, and Arvind Krishna heading IBM. We have several of our Indians leading major universities, whether it is Harvard Business School or whether it is Carnegie Mellon or whether it is Stanford University. We have some of the best doctors in the world. We have the best philosophers, Swami Vivekananda. We have the best scientists like Abdul Kalam. We have women scientists like Tessie Thomas. You see, we have never lacked for great innovation. But what we have lacked is creating that ecosystem of innovation and entrepreneurship in India where young minds can thrive and blossom and realize their full creative potential. It is also important, I feel, having come from a corporate, that the corporate incorporates all this in their working. They have to create an ecosystem of entrepreneurship within their own organization so that talented young students who come are not, and who join your organization are not limited to just doing what you ask them to do, which is very important, but which also enables them to suggest new ideas, and you are able to incubate good ones and give expression to their creative potential. The third thing that Atal Innovation Mission is doing is we have launched what are known as community innovation centers. These are innovation centers being set up in tier 2, tier 3 cities and in rural India. Now, why is this so important? It is important because if India has to develop, we have to develop uniformly. And the benefit of innovation and entrepreneurship, the benefit of economic growth has to reach the masses across to the nook and corner of our country. And in this journey, the digital transformations that are possible because of advancing technology, technology that has become affordable, accessible, available, and advanced, technology that is reshaping the world, changing the way you are experiencing the world and the way the world is experiencing you. How do you leverage technology to be able to address this particular problem? We have 600,000 villages in our country. We have 8,000 towns, small towns and cities. We have only 8 tier 1 cities in India. If all the rest of India is flocking to these 8 tier 1 cities, it is an unmanageable and an unsustainable situation. If India has to develop, we need thousands of centers of innovation and job creation. We need 1,000 smart cities. We need 1,000 hubs of job creation across the country. And that is why it becomes important for corporates to be able to look at this larger landscape and see how they can become part of the ecosystem of creating that ecosystem of innovation and entrepreneurship across the length and breadth of the country. And the Atal Community Innovation Centers, which are being set up in different parts of rural India, is exactly doing that. We are also launching what are known as New India Challenges, Atal New India Challenges. These challenges are to create and produce products and services of national socio-economic impact. You see, India cannot grow if we do not have enough social innovations in addition to commercially driven innovations. In the corporate world, we are often more worried about the economic health of the company. We forget or we don't find time to focus and concentrate on social good. This is a very, very important part that every corporate has to pursue. I have myself been guilty of the fact that I have not paid enough attention when in my corporate world to this element which is so necessary. A country like India with 1.3 billion people, which has such a great demand, can only be serviced if you are able to bridge the socio-economic divide, the digital divide. And we need to leverage digital technologies and digital transformations to make it happen. And finally, in order to put all these initiatives together and succeed, it is very important to create a mentor network and a collaboration network, a network of private sector, public sector, academic, industry, and global partnerships. Now, that is true for any corporate too. In a corporate environment, you need to have mentors for the young people who join the organization, to inspire them, to be able to see the capabilities that each one has. Without a mentor, you will not be able to capture that. Many organizations lose some of their best people just because we have not had a mentor to be able to reach to and see the potential that that young employee has. We have now instituted a very large Mentors of Change network across the country. And why did we do that? We did that because we know that when we are setting up a tinkering lab or an incubator or a startup in a remote part of the country, they will need access to people who have been there, done that, have that knowledge, have that expertise, have the capability to help them. And that is why we created one of the largest. I was pleasantly surprised when we launched the Mentor of Change portal to find more than 10,000 mentors. They're all BTechs, PhDs, masters from the industry, from companies like TCS, Wipro, Infosys, from the multinationals. All of them joined voluntarily to be able to mentor tinkering lab students or incubators and startups. We today have 4,800 mentors associated with the tinkering labs, more than 1,500 mentors associated with our incubators and startups. And there are many more who are waiting to get allocated to various initiatives of Atal Innovation Mission. Now, that's a very important requirement in a corporate too. You need good mentoring, be able to nurture the talent and to provide a path for every employee in the organization. Now I come to what have been the learnings for me in my corporate journey. First and foremost, I think we should all learn to dream big. At TCS, we were taught to dream big. We were told that we can go and get any job anywhere in the world. And I mean that. I did not have any knowledge about the United States, but my CEO and my mentor, Mr. Kohli and Mr. Ramdurai, said, go there and build a business for TCS. We are confident that you can do that. So first and foremost, I think it is important to dream big. As the great Abdul Kalam said, dream big and you'll achieve great things. Dream small and you will be limited by your own dreams. Secondly, it is very important for us as leaders and for leaders to be able to instill tremendous confidence and belief in the employee about their capabilities. The great Swami Vivekananda said that if you have belief in 1,000 gods and goddesses, but do not have belief in yourself, you will be doomed. We need to create that extraordinary belief in yourself. We need the yes, we can, yes, we will attitude. That we can attitude propelled Barack Obama to the top, a black man, the first black man to become the president of the country. That yes, we can attitude can do wonders to our employees if we are able to instill in them self-belief. The second important thing that I have learned is doing the right thing. You see, doing the right thing has to be a virtue that we all should practice. Doing the right thing is not doing the most convenient thing. In fact, doing the most convenient thing is the easiest way to get out of a dilemma that we face. Very often, in the corporate sector or in the private or in the government sector, you may want to adopt a shortcut, but you have to look at whether that shortcut is creating long-term problems. And doing the right thing is always doing the ethical thing, doing it with integrity and doing it for the long term. So this decision-making is a very important part of a decision-making. When CMC was a Government of India organization. And, there has been some sort of expectation in many government organizations in the years past. And I think that has considerably disappeared now, almost disappeared in the current times. But there was always this expectation that you have to compromise in order to get some business. We decided in CMC that we will not compromise. And it did us great wonders. We rose our profitability from 2% operating margin to 21% operating margin by focusing on what we will not do more than what we will do. We said we will not take on low profit margin, high revenue type of jobs. We will focus on our core competency and go for high margin jobs. And we did. It took great difficulty in convincing people that that's the right thing to do because it was not the way out of a dilemma. We ran, our revenue shrank. We were afraid what the market would say. But the market also were intelligent to observe that the profitability was increasing in absolute numbers, not just in percentage numbers. And therefore, doing the right thing is very important. The next thing that I learned is strategic thinking as a way of life. We have to employ strategy and think strategically at all times. Now, we say that often, but we don't live it. More importantly, after evolving a strategy, we need to implement it. At the Atal Innovation Mission, which is part of NITI Aayog, NITI Aayog is a think tank. They are involved in National Institution for Transforming India. So in general, the NITI Aayog does policy decisions in various verticals, and they have been credited with a number of initiatives that they have launched in the country, including Digital India, Jan Dhan Movement, Mobile India, and so on and so forth. Electric vehicles, all of you who are familiar with the industry would know that. But I think the most important thing that at Atal Innovation Mission I learned was you may conceive of this innovation entrepreneurship plan, but to make it happen, you have to be on the ground. Implementation is 90% of the effort to make it successful. As they say, genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. The same is true in any initiative that you take. So strategic thinking is very important. Diverging and getting all the facts and then converging and synthesizing those facts into a strategy that needs to be implemented is extraordinarily important in every leader's life. But more importantly, the ability to implement what you have strategized on is very, very important. And that means going to the field, understanding what the customer really wants. If there is a beneficiary in Atal Innovation Mission, understanding what are the challenges and the problems they are facing. And this has helped me tremendously, and I'm sure it will all of you. The fourth thing is to know all that is knowable. You see, data decision taking is important, but it is only facilitated by collecting all the information that you can, synthesizing that information, and then transforming that knowledge into actionable items. Don't collect data when you're not going to use it. It is absolutely of no use. But collecting data and having data decision-based actions is key to any initiative success, whether it be in the government or whether it be in the private sector. Of course, at TCS, we all learned the importance of data collection, data management, and data-based decision-making, and it helped us enormously. But nowhere is it more important, I found, than in the government. You see, when I was in the private sector, I always was narrowing down my thinking because I used to look at what is going to yield the maximum bang for the buck, as they say. How am I going to increase my profitability? How am I going to increase my revenues? And I do that by focusing on smaller and smaller segments of my customers who are able to give me maximum yield. Now, that is the right approach for a corporate because they want to become profitable. They have to focus on customer segments and narrow down the customer segments which are going to yield the best results. But now when you come to the government, the problem became the opposite for me. I saw that whatever I was doing, I had to think more expansively. If I was going to set up 500 tinkering labs, I had to think, how am I going to set up 5,000 tinkering labs? And then we have 1.4 million schools. We have 10,500 engineering and related institutions. We have 39,000 colleges. We have 150 million students entering into the workplace. How are we going to create an initiative that is going to scale up rapidly and be more and more expansive? So instead of narrowing the focus, my initiatives or work in the government taught me how I have to expand my focus. And that's the difference. But it doesn't matter. It is very important that in both of these, you have to be driven by the data. And we have great tools today, empowering tools, big data analytics, artificial intelligence, sensor technologies, which is driving data into your large computers or into your iPhone. And you are having the convergence of advanced computing, communication, and sensor technologies to be able to benefit. The next thing that I learned was teamwork. Of course, the saying everyone knows, together everyone achieves more. But unless you have a great team, you will not be able to make a difference. Steve Jobs said that we all should make an impact, leave a ding in the universe. And his way of leaving a ding in the universe was by creating an organization of the best people surrounding him, people who complimented him, people on whom he had faith because they had the skills which he didn't have. And that is how the organization was born. Now that is true for us, whether you're in corporate or in private. In fact, I was part of TCS, as you're aware, which was a very large organization. Then I was part of CMC, which was not as big as TCS, but it was having more than 15,000 people at its peak. And then I come to Atal Innovation Mission and I have 4 people to lead. So it's a very different environment in which you come to. So how do you build up an organization like an Atal Innovation Mission? You have to first become an entrepreneur. You have to realize that what are the things that were enabled you and the support systems that you had in the large corporate is not going to be available to you as an entrepreneur. It is an entrepreneurial organization. But then if you surround yourself with the right people, they become a multiplying force of incredible magnitude. And therefore, surrounding yourself with the right people, honoring them, giving them the opportunity to express themselves, being a friend, a coach, and a guide rather than being a boss. This is extremely important. It has helped me a lot in my private sector career as well as it is helping me in the government. The next thing that is very important is integrity and ethics and value systems. Not in that order. I think the value systems come first in any organization. How do you build a culture of in an organization which values values? How do you build a culture of nation builders? How do you build a culture of pioneers and innovators in the organization? How do you build a culture where everybody respects everybody else? How do you build a culture where people work together as teams and rejoice in each other's success? That is extraordinarily important when we are trying to build any organization or make any initiative successful. So building that culture means building the right people and the right structures and the right policies in the organization that will enable that and empower your people. And that is something that I feel has been a great learning for me during my time. And finally, I would like to share that one of the most important things that I have learned is the word failure should not be interpreted as failure. The word fail, as the great Abdul Kalam said, is the first attempt in learning. So either you succeed or you have the first attempt in learning. Now, when you internalize this, you are ready to go into new areas, new domains, new geographies, new initiatives. And you would not be fazed by any stumbling blocks that you face. You see, progress is not achieved by standing at the same spot. It is only when you move that you stumble and you fall. But when you fall, you rise and you move forward. I believe, and I always say to the young students with whom I interact, and today I interact with many, that everyone is a born innovator. And why do I say that? When we were young, when we were a small baby, nobody taught us how to walk. We saw the world around us. We saw people walking. We stood up, we fell down. We stood up again, we fell down again. But every time we stood up, we innovated. And we learned to balance ourselves. And we learned to walk. And we learned to run. And soon some of us were competing in races. And soon some of us were winning national races. And few like Usain Bolt have gone on to win the Olympics. It is all constant innovation. It is innovation happens with mastery of the fundamentals. Sachin Tendulkar has not become a great cricketer and a genius cricketer just because he was born a genius. He used to go to the nets every morning till the last day of his cricketing career and bat and practice at the nets for 4 hours to 6 hours at a stretch, constantly improvising, constantly innovating. The search for excellence is what will spur continuous improvement and innovation. And we need to ensure that our people in the organization, whichever organization we work in, are having a constant search for excellence and not intimidated by failure. An entrepreneurial world that we want to build, an innovative world that we want to build, will have many first attempts in learning, but they are invaluable in being able to assure the growth, not only of your personal selves, but also of the nation. And finally, I do think corporate leaders have a very important role to play in ensuring that we do as much for societal good as we are doing for our own organization. That's very important. We have a billion people. Like I said, in the 115 aspirational districts that we have, we still have 1 in 5 maternal mortality, 1 in 4 infant stunting, 1 in 3 infant mortality. These are not statistics that we should learn to live with. These are statistics which we should change. And we have an opportunity. India is a country of a billion people with a million challenges. But these million challenges are a million opportunities for us to convert them into entrepreneurial initiatives, into startups, into making an impact, not only for India, but for the rest of the world. As the Honorable Prime Minister so brilliantly said, we need to be vocal about being local so that we can grow global. Global, any solution that you find in India and you create in India is also a solution for the rest of the world. And so we have this incredible opportunity as leaders of organizations, as leaders of corporates, or leaders in the private and public sector, or leaders in the government, to be able to leave a ding in the universe, as Steve Jobs said, to make an impact at a national level, at an international level, to create the sustainable planet that we all dream of and which we rightfully owe to the next generation of youngsters who are coming up. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to share a few thoughts on today's occasion. And I'm open for any questions that any one of you would have. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. I am so overwhelmed hearing all this, and trust me, I had absolutely no idea that we as an Indian government are doing such wonderful initiatives and such an awesome work. Unfortunately, this is a Zoom platform, otherwise, I would have given a standing ovation to whatever you've delivered today. It's a real eye opener for us to know and very inspirational, the kind of work that the government is doing. There is a question here from Sri Shandar. What is the right way by which one can participate in initiatives of Atmanirbhar Bharat and Atal Innovation initiatives?
Thank you for that question, Aishwarya. There are many ways in which you can participate, both a corporate or at an individual level. One is we have a Mentors of Change application on our portal on www.aim.gov.in. So please log on to that and register yourself as a mentor of change, and we will confirm that. When that application is there, you can indicate your preferences, whether you would like to mentor a school or whether you'd like to mentor a startup or an incubator, and give some little background information about yourself. Because the whole idea that we have is that whatever school or whatever students or whatever startup you want to mentor is close to where you are, so that you're able to spend some quality time with them. But you could also now, in this digital world, even remotely, just one second.
Sure.
I'm on a call. Can I call you back? मैं बुलाता हूँ call. Yeah. So that is one way. Corporates can partner with Atal Innovation Mission on various initiatives. So we have many corporates who have signed what is called as an SOI, Statement of Intent. And the Statement of Intent is exactly what it is. It is a statement of good intent to work together to collaborate on Atal incubators, Atal New India challenges, our community innovation centers, launch challenges together, mentor or help in new initiatives that we are planning. There are many ways, and also you are able to leverage your CSR, leverage in your spend as and consider them as CSR for many of the innovation initiatives that we have. So please feel free to write to me. My email ID is r.ramanan@gov.in, and I'll send it to Shailendra and to you so that you can share it with everybody.
All right. Thank you, sir. Anybody has any questions, can please type it in the chat box. Meanwhile, I have a question. Yeah, go ahead, Rajat.
I was curious to know how coaching can play a role in all this, in terms of developing this culture of innovation and entrepreneurship in India. What can we do with coaching?
Yeah, I think it's a very, very good question. Coaching is very important. It's a form of mentoring, but it is at a different level in terms of, we need coaching at a leadership level. We need coaching within Atal Innovation Mission, for the young people who join. I mean, I have 25 to 30 people who are working with me, and they're all young, very bright, very enthusiastic people. So, how do they make, we can structure a program for them to become potential leaders. But also in our incubators, we have more than 68 incubators which are operational today, and there are many other government incubators. There is a big paucity of great managers and great leaders still, right? Every incubator, we make it a mandatory condition that you should have a dedicated CEO for every incubator, and that the person cannot be doing a part-time job for the incubator. He or she has to be full-time on that incubator. So we need leadership programs and training programs and coaching programs for all of them. So there are many ways of doing it. Um, of course, with Atal Innovation Mission, with the SOI, typically it is pro bono work, but then it opens up opportunities for you to be able to structure commercial arrangements with organizations who would want to avail of that.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
There's another question. So NITI Aayog is almost 6 years old. A lot of initiatives were taken under various verticals. Where can we find the statistics of achievements or success of these initiatives?
Yeah, the NITI Aayog website actually publishes an annual report every year, and you should be able to see that. In fact, the NITI Aayog website would be a repository of a lot of information. And if there is any specific information that you need, you can always write to them, and they will provide you that information.
Okay. So Anuradha is again asking a question. It's the same question, Anuradha. Mr. Ramanan has already answered this question. That's basically how can we participate and contribute to
And
the.
not only that, they also publish a lot of other, like, what are we doing on sustainable development goals, global innovation index reports, India innovation index report. NITI Aayog publishes the rankings for all the states. There is a state level ranking that is done. I was talking about data-based decision making. NITI Aayog is spearheading data-based decision making across all the states, across all the districts. So you have state level rankings, you have district level rankings, and so on. So a lot of information is accessible from the website, and there are a lot of publications also on the government websites that you can look at. Every ministry also has its own publications on what are the initiatives going on in different areas in each of the verticals. So that's also a lot of information that is.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I have a question, sir. We have so many tinkering labs which are basically to encourage development or entrepreneurs in making, right? So do we also go back and track as to how many people have become entrepreneurs after these initiatives, who have been part of these initiatives? Do
Yeah.
we have that kind of data as well?
Yeah. So the tinkering labs are more to create a problem-solving, innovative mindset in the young school students. Uh, the entrepreneurs and innovators and startup will be created at the university level more of the time. But this transformation from a rote learning mindset that we have in the schools to a problem solving innovative mindset has to start at that level. And that is why these tinkering labs are being launched. But what has interestingly happened is, our young students are very innovative. And every year we run, like I said, annual marathons, tinkering marathons. A tinkering marathon, we launch 6 or 8 sectors, we say challenges, and people go and create innovations. In the last marathon that we ran, more than 50,000 students participated in creating innovations, out of which 8,000 innovations got submitted to Atal Innovation Mission for consideration. And then we selected the top 200. And these 200 innovations, which is roughly around 600 to 700 students, they undergo what are known as student entrepreneurial programs and student innovation programs. And these are with our partners. So partners like IBM or Adobe or KPIT or whoever, right? So they all and our incubators. They run a 2-week, 3-week student innovation program and a student entrepreneur program, and their innovations get perfected. And actually, in the last program, we have six startups which have come out from these tinkering marathon winners. So 6 startups at a school level, and they are all now on Amazon Play Store and Google Play Store, and all those products are already there. So we don't expect, uh, we don't really expect too much startups to come out from the schools, but it is already happening. And students, bright students and innovative students are finding, and they're starting their own startups and so on and so forth.
Very nice.
We have this Tinkerers Lab in IIT Bombay as well, right? So it's a brilliant space for students to just go and play around. Doesn't matter which degree you are following, you can just go and play around your passion.
Yeah. So the same thing we have enabled at the school levels, and that is also the other important thing is we have a lot of online training programs. We run Tinker from Home modules. So just to give you an idea, today you have AI basic and step up modules for all the students. So they undergone AI, artificial intelligence, basic and step up modules. Do it yourself kits are being made available for AI. They have learned game development. So using software, so Dell Technologies are partnered with us, NASCOM partnered with us on AI basic and learning modules. Game development, we have launched 3 levels at the basic level, intermediate level, and advanced level. We have introduced 3D design modules called Collab CAD. So that on 3D printing, you are able to first create a 3D design using, and these are all for school students. I mean, we didn't do all this. Shailendra will know, we hardly did any of this when we were studying in college or even when we started working. But today, the young students are all having access to it. We also have launched design thinking programs, training programs. So with IIT Delhi, we have run a design thinking and critical thinking program, because without design thinking, your innovations will not be very good. And then we have launched also what are known as ethics and integrity program, because how do you use technology for good? How do you use AI for good? We need to, incorporate such things. And we also have developed programs with United Nations for sustainable development goals for the students. So SDG goals. So every innovation of the young student in our tinkering lab will be aligned to one or more of the sustainable development goals. Now the fact that our young students today are knowing about sustainable development goals and are aware because of this process is a very good thing for the future of the world.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Uh, one more question. Are there initiatives for 50 plus, as most companies want young staff leaving elderly who are more experienced and learned, jobless with little options to start their own ventures?
Can you repeat that question, please?
Are there initiatives for 50 plus years for elderly people? Because most of the companies, they want young staff and leaving elderly who are more experienced and learned, jobless with little options to start their own ventures. So are there options for elderly people? That's what.
Yeah, so actually our community innovation centers and our incubators, that's the purpose, to be able to expose them to emerging skills in the marketplace. Even our tinkering labs enables them to get familiar with emerging skills. In the entrepreneurs world, age is not a barrier. It is a mindset which is a barrier. You can become an entrepreneur even when you're 50 or 60, it doesn't matter. However, the conventional thinking is as you grow older, you become, less entrepreneurial. I think what we become is we restrict ourselves in our own thinking very often. And some of the best entrepreneurs actually that I have seen even in our incubators are people who have already crossed 50 and they have come up with some innovation and they want to do something which is impactful. Skill development is a very important issue in India. We need to focus on skill development, especially for people who are, there are changing the jobs, the nature of jobs is changing. And with the advent of technology, that is going to change. So for example, if you look at the COVID-19 world now, there is more back-end processing, you have Uber-based services, and you have Ola services, and you have e-commerce, and how do you react to that particular world? And therefore, you need to get new skills to adapt to this world. And I think the Skills Development Ministry, the National Skills Development NSDC, is doing a great job in being able to inculcate those in the ITIs and so on. And the new education policy that has been rolled out just a couple of months ago, that places great emphasis on technical skills as much as engineering and academic skills that we have been traditionally focusing. So just like in Germany and so on, you don't have, you don't have the social stigma for a technical skill versus a engineering academic degree and so on. They're all equal. We need to build that culture in India because it is still not there, and people who are, and the new education policy is enabling all of that. So it's, I think all of these will see its impact in the years to come.
Okay. Thank you so much. There are a lot of accolades coming in, Mr. Ramanan, and people are saying, wonderful to know that so much of work is happening through Atal Innovation Mission. We wouldn't have known otherwise, hadn't you spoken and you've informed us about or shared your knowledge about it. So thank you so much. And is there any other question, Rajat or Shailendra, from your end?
No questions. A big thank you, sir, again. Thank you so much for coming in. It was very, very useful, and something that we really needed to know as well, and more the world should know more of as well. So happy, and we'll reach out in terms of supporting wherever we can to all the people that you have been talking about, saying the students or the mentors or wherever. We'll figure something out, with NITI Aayog. Thank you again so much.
Thanks, Rajat.
Thank you so much. I've posted the link for the CCUs in the chat box. Please copy and paste the link and submit the form in 24 hours, so that you can earn your CCUs. And thank you so much, sir, for enlightening us today. So let's all have a great day.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity, and everyone be safe and have a great weekend.